I started listening to podcasts about real estate investing and then reading and so forth. And every minute I had, I was educating myself on it. For me, the cherry on top was you can do it from anywhere. That's where I was sold because I felt so constrained before that I couldn't really move. I could technically do my job from different, jurisdictions, but it was challenging at times. And this, I'm like, you know what? If I can do it from anywhere, I'm in.
Get ready for the next iteration of you on your path to becoming wealthy. On this show, you'll get the insider's view on wealth creation, the class none of us got taught in school, with my co-host, daughter, and beginning investor, Sophia Bosch. And now, let's get started.
Welcome to the Becoming Wealthy podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Bosch. I'm here with my co-host, Sophia Bosch. And we are excited to introduce you to an amazing woman that actually, Sophia, I met at the investor conference. Remember, I told you last year that I was going to this big conference for women, and that's where I met Maira for the very first time. It was luck, I think, or destiny, or, the universe bringing us together. We sat in the same table, and I want to give you a little bit of introduction of who Maira is. She is a co-founder and CEO of Romanette Homes. That's a provider of short-term rentals. So she does, Airbnb, and she does it in 2 states. She does it in Wisconsin, and she also does it in North Carolina, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Asheville, North Carolina. She's also co-founded a land investing company. So she is, like you, a land investor and a land flipper. I'm so excited about that. And she, just like your parents, is also an immigrant into the U.S. From a different country. She's actually from Brazil. And she has worked many years in corporate America, working for Fortune 500 companies as in-house legal counsel. So she's an attorney, by profession. Maira, we are so excited to have you here. Welcome to Becoming Wealthy.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for the nice introduction. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so excited to talk to you and Sophia.
Sophia, you want to kick us off with the first question?
Yeah, okay. So it is our thing a little bit when we're interviewing guests to start all the way from the beginning. So what are some money values that you learned at home with your family in Brazil that you still apply today?
Oh, well, sometimes your parents teach you things without planning to teach you things, right? So I think in my house, I can't talk about money values without talking about like work ethic. My parents always worked so hard. And one thing that they taught my brothers and I was always work hard and education, like the value of education. So every time we talked about wealth and money, education was a big player. And it was like, you got to go get an education. You got to go to college. It was not a question in my house. You don't question. It was a thing. You are going to go to college. You're going to get an education, and all of us did, eventually I went to law school in Brazil before I went to law school in the US. And that's how I started my career. But, that piece was always, if you have an education and you work hard, you will be fine financially. You always be good financially. But the piece that, the kind of the money value piece there that clicked for me is that I always really wanted like a big life, but a big life in the sense of I always wanted abundance. And in my house, there was always this sense of, well, we work very, very, very hard. We make good money, but there was a sense of it's not enough. We don't have enough to do that trip. We don't have enough to buy the nice car, or we don't have enough. We had a very good life. Don't get me wrong. Like my parents are both physicians, like in Brazil, it's very different to be a physician than in the US. I don't know, Michelle, if you can relate to that, because
absolutely.
Origin, it's a little bit different, right? The path and also the financial reward of the profession. But there was always that sense, and I'm like, why is that happening, right? Maybe if I work harder, I'll get there. But that always stuck with me as, okay, right? And their path was very traditional. So that stuck with me throughout my career. And later on in my life, it made me think, okay, maybe just putting my head down and working at a corporate job is not going to give me that abundance or that time. Because to me, abundance is not just about money, right? It's the time that you have to spend with your family and do things. But so I would say both of them, right? It's like, so work ethic, education, and will putting my head down really take me where I need to go if that means just working for someone else in the traditional path?
that's amazing because, that work ethic, even if you were not, doing the traditional path, but you went into the path of entrepreneurship, that work ethic, is the foundation for anything, whether it's, income from a W-2 job or income from a business. That is a foundation for everything. We were talking actually with Sophia on a prior call, that she was on. It was a camp for girls. And, the lady that was facilitating was talking about being able to be of service and solve, problems and bring solutions to a potential customer. And sometimes that potential customer is, your company or your team if you're inside of a big, corporation. But in any case, that foundation of like the work ethic has to be there. It's just that sometimes, certain vehicles, I would say, Sophia, or certain, are more conducive to having much more abundance from the perspective that Maira described. It's not just the money, but also the time. There's some of them that are much more conducive for that, or that, generally speaking, pay better for the exact same amount of effort that you do here. This one here may pay better, and so it's important to, like she said, to know, okay, if I'm going to put my head down, maybe I will put my head down here for some time to learn, to get some experience under my belt. But at some point, I'm going to go and after I've learned quite a bit, exactly, go and apply it in an environment or in a venture that pays me better or pays more for my same effort. And I can totally relate to that, Maira, because both Jack and I, came to this country and we followed the traditional thing of, getting an education, going to corporate, and then we found ourselves also kind of like you, not really advancing financially in spite of putting in 60, 80-hour weeks. So what is that? What prompted you to start investing in real estate, or what prompted you to specifically go into short-term rentals and into land? Like, there's so many opportunities out there, business opportunities out there. Why real estate?
Oh my goodness. So, I was just going to say, just to wrap up what you were saying before about the hard work and put your head down. I am 100% about putting my head down. Like, hard work, there's no way around it. I don't care what people say about manifesting or creating a business on the side or delegating everything. I mean, if you're not focused, in my opinion, you're not going to get there. And that is very strongly instilled in me. And there's no way around it. Right. But then putting your head down doesn't mean put blinders on. And I felt like for a long time, that's, I just looked at this is the only path. This is the only way. But then I was having, health issues. I was feeling like I was always craving time. I didn't have time to spend with my family. It was hard to go to Brazil. I was always traveling and I was always working as I was traveling. And I'm not the only one, right? And that's the expectation, I guess, in many companies. And it comes with the territory, comes with, your job title. And so I started questioning, okay, if I really want to build wealth, like true wealth, right? Not just the paycheck, like you said, if I want to build assets, if I want to be diversified, if I want to have a comfortable retirement, is this really going to give me that? And is this going to give me the time that I crave? Probably not. So I started just like Googling, search, talking to people, talking to entrepreneurs, and I got to bigger pockets. And I started listening to podcasts about real estate investing and then reading and so forth. And every minute I had, I was educating myself on it. And so made the decision to go to the investor convention a couple of years ago. And I said, I need to meet women that are doing this. I need to learn what's out there. At the time, short-term rentals were already on my radar because I love hospitality. I like real estate and I love the cash flow. It's not just about, right? Like, cash flow is super important. And the short-term rentals, I mean, if you have again, it's not passive. Whoever's out there saying that short-term rentals is a passive way to make money in real estate, don't believe them. But the cash flow was amazing. I said, you know what? I need to do this. I need to do it myself, everything from the ground up. And I need to have like my proof of concept. And if that goes well, we'll see. If not, I'll pivot and I'll try something else. So that's how I started with short-term rentals. I never looked back. The cash flow is really good. It's a lot of work. But And later on, I wanted to diversify. I met you. I heard wonderful things about the program. I found out that you provide, I mean, I am a student of, the Land Profit Generator program, and you provide like an amazing blueprint. And I was like, oh my God, someone is going to teach me how to do this, the processes I need, the tools that I need. Why not? And for me, the cherry on top was you can do it from anywhere. That's where I was sold, because I felt so constrained before that I couldn't really move. I could technically do my job from different, jurisdictions, but it was challenging at times. And this, I'm like, you know what? If I can do it from anywhere, I'm in.
That is amazing. And I know you recently closed your first deal, right?
I did after a long time, because again, right, I was not as focused. I'm focused on 10,000 things, and focus and consistency is key. It's absolutely key. But yes, I closed my first deal and I'm very, very happy. I have an amazing coach, and again, the program is great. So I'm very, very excited, and I want to close more. So
Sophia can totally relate, because she had a time last year where she was doing exactly so much.
Spread so thin. I'm learning from my mistakes.
Yeah.
But
and she finally closed her first deal, I think, on April 16th. We still have it etched in our calendar.
Thank you.
She bought the property for $6,000, closed for $40,000, had somebody give her a down payment for $15,000. So she was able to pay, her seller, pay commission on the realtor, closing costs, and still have about $3,800 cash. And now she has $500 coming in for the next 5.5 years. So she can
go, girl. That's amazing.
Where you are right now. May I ask, how much was your first deal? What were the profits?
So the profit was $29,000, and this was a landlocked lot. The owner knew nothing about it. Never really paid attention. We didn't have an easement. It was something that I passed on a first look, and then after talking to my coach, a while ago, I said, you know what? I'm just going to go back to all the leads that I have, and I'm going to see what's there, and we'll see. I made an offer that I talked to a realtor first, right? Because I needed boots on the ground. It's a new market for me. And I said, okay, realistically, what can we get? I kind of worked backwards from there, and I said, okay, this is what I can offer. And the stars just aligned, and it was a wonderful deal for everyone. I mean, the person who owned it, there were back taxes. We took care of all of that. They made some money. Our agent was happy because she got good commission. The buyer was happy because he needed a place to store his equipment. He worked out a deal and got an easement. It was just perfect. So I cannot wait to make that happen again. And, I know you and Jack always say this, Michelle, but yeah, there are opportunities everywhere. It's really true.
There are opportunities everywhere. Absolutely. And
landlord too.
That's your everything. But that's the thing, makes the properties that we see that we perhaps would be interested doesn't mean that there's not a market for it, that there's not a buyer out there for it. Even those difficult ones, can be sold. And I love that, you kept at it. You said, yes, I had a little bit of, stuff going on, but then I realized I needed to focus. And this is, now you're seeing the success from that focus. And it's almost like right now it's a superpower, Maira. There's so much noise, so much distraction, attention spans of everyone, especially this youth, with being on social, that it's become a superpower to focus on one thing and to actually implement and execute. So thank you so much for, for saying that. Now, how did you balance, because I don't know, were you still in working for that Fortune 500 company while you were, doing this? How did you balance your time? Like, for Sophia, and for, everyone listening here, I want her to get an idea of like, what did you do on a day-to-day to make things work?
Oh, okay. So this is a very good question. It's a very difficult one because I feel like people talk about balance and I don't know, to be honest with you, for me, if that really exists. Like when I had, and I will explain to you like kind of what my approach is, but, at my company, while I was working there, I had a big job, which I was very grateful for. It's an amazing company. I had an amazing team. So I don't want to give the impression that, oh my gosh, I ran away because things were just horrible. It was like on paper perfect. And actually, I really enjoyed many aspects of it. It was just that was my life. There was no room for anything else, right? So I knew that it was very clear to me that while I had that role, I had ethical obligations, I had, professional obligations with the company. That was my priority number one. So they called, so what I did is when I bought like my first short-term rental, I worked on it weekends and evenings. Like every day after work, when I had time, I would run there. I did everything myself, my husband, family members helped, but it was secondary. Once that started going, I'm like, okay, I did the second one. And then, but again, I had to hire more people to help because I was too busy with my job. So I was not as involved. And then I wanted to do the land coaching program. So what I had to do is literally prioritize. I'm like, okay, I have all these things. Priority number one is the work. When I have an opening on when these other things that are on the side become a priority, that's what I'm going to prioritize. And for me, if it's not in my calendar, it doesn't exist. So everything is on my calendar. If I have a call, it's on the calendar. If I'm blocking time, like to prepare for this podcast, is on my calendar, and I try to stick with it because otherwise if you have a busy life and you're doing many things, at least for me, if I don't get organized like that, it doesn't work. So it was like, what is the priority at this point in time, right? Do I have to attend this class at LPG? Do I have to talk to my coach? That's my priority. So I'm going to take a couple hours here, and I would mark my calendar at work as out of office, but people always knew how to find me. Everybody had my cell phone, and I would be back as soon as I could. So I try to do it that way because for me, this idea of you're always balancing something and it's always on balance, hasn't worked. So the priority and me understanding that, okay, sometimes it's going to get busy. You prioritize one thing. You can't do everything at once, right? If everything is a priority, nothing is a priority. Yeah. Then that's kind of how I manage that.
Yeah, I like that because what I heard her say, Sophia, is that she's blocked time off in her calendar. Maybe it's a standing appointment, with the coach once a week, or block of time for you to work on, on identifying new markets, on sending out mailings, on, doing research, comping, and so on and so forth, and sending out those offers. So it's somebody that was struggling, as in like in terms of like trying to fit it all. Because at the end of the day, Maira, I think you're right. I don't know if there is such a thing as balance, as more of like, let's have one big full life. And in that big full life, there's going to be seasons in which one thing will take priority, and other seasons in which another venture will take priority, or another project will take priority. For Sophia right now over the summer, we try to, for her to have some rest, but also to jumpstart a lot of, mailings going out so that by the time, school starts, okay, she starts, making some offers and doing some comping, and while the school year is ramping up, versus trying to, start everything all at once, school starting at the same time, piano lessons starting, rock climbing, mailing starting. We're trying to basically, prioritize, like you said, that, there's a season, and right now in these next 30 days, the season is lead generation, for us.
Exactly.
So thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much. And I'm excited to see you, soar and continue doing that. I mean, this is just the beginning. I'm sure that you guys have an income target. What are you excited? What is the future looking like in the land investing world?
Oh my goodness. So right now, I'm even embarrassed to say this to you. I'm getting my third property ready in North Carolina. So that's the season that has been my focus. But we do have some goals. We're actually going to start playing in our own backyard, which we haven't yet, because we felt that the market maybe was not that attractive. But after taking a second look and discussing with our coach, I think so that's my next step is mailers for this area. We have more resources here. And I would like to close, 2 or 3 more deals before the end of the year. That's my target right now. But
Awesome. That's fantastic. Now, so you're a legal professional. I mean, you're an attorney, by profession. How do, and I'm sure that probably has, that background has a lot to do in how you vet an opportunity or vet an investment. But when an opportunity is being presented to you, because Sophia, you're going to have a ton of opportunities that are going to come your way, in your path to becoming wealthy. How do you go? Do you have a process to evaluate them? How do you look at them?
I do, absolutely, right? I mean, if you are through the program, right, Sophia, if you're doing the LPG program, there is a process, a very well-defined process there to evaluate counties. I'm sure I don't have to talk about that, but I follow that one, and I discuss with my coach like every time, right? Like the numbers have to be there. I think if you're going to go to a niche market, or if you're going to go somewhere where maybe there's not a lot of demand or a lot of volume, I don't have the confidence yet to work in those markets. I want to maybe polish my skills a little bit more. And maybe that comes from my legal side. Like I need to know that I'm a little bit more proficient. But, for short-term rentals, I do have like an underwriting process that I do for every single property. And I try to do it not this week, because again, it's not a priority, but I try to do at least like once a week or once every couple of weeks, look at some properties. I have a spreadsheet and I run the numbers. So how much I'm paying for it, how much I'm putting down, what is the cash that I need to close. I pull data from several sources about demand in that market, what they think the ADR, the average daily rate is, what they think the occupancy is. And those are all estimates, right? It's not, no database will give you 100%, but I need, and I run comps. I go on like Airbnb, Vrbo, and I look at the calendars. I look at, how the properties are doing. I do my own vetting, and I talk to real estate agents always. For land, I learned that it's very, very, very helpful to do that, but STRs, absolutely. So I have a very good agent that I trust in North Carolina. I run everything by him. So, there's definitely a process, and the numbers need to be there, right? At the end of the day, it's a business. It's not like I can't be emotionally attached, but yeah.
Now, we want to be respectful of your time, but I also wanted to ask you, and I know you alluded to it already, but what does true wealth mean for you, Maira? And if, somebody is listening to us, or, and thinking about just opportunities out there in general, what piece of advice would you have in terms of what wealth means and just advice in general?
I think so. For me, true wealth has like 3 pillars. It's time, health, and financial security, right? Without the financial piece, you're not going to feel safe. You're not going to feel like you're in a place where you can relax and maybe enjoy life. So that's a big piece of it. But for me, wealth is just more than that. I don't want to be wealthy, so I'm working all the time, right? I work very hard, but having time to spend with my family, to be in Brazil, to spend with my friends, my nephews and nieces, like all of that has become so important to me that, I don't think I'll consider myself truly wealthy until I can say, you know what, I can take 15 days, a month, and I'm just going to travel and spend time with my family, and I don't have to worry about it. Right. So I think that's an abundant life, is when you can actually enjoy it and be with the people that you love. And so advice, I think people just need to think about what works for them and what are their life aspirations, right? So I know many people who are very happy in the corporate world and are very happy with, they get a lot of fulfillment from it. And I think there is, a place for everyone and a profession for everyone. For me, I just started craving more, and I wanted to create a different, culture. I wanted to create a different way of being, of working, and still, building wealth for myself and my family.
Love that. In a different way of being, maybe you can, elaborate a little bit more on what you mean by that, and maybe what faith or spirituality has or role has for you just in general in your life and in creating that well-being.
Spirituality is super important to me. I mean, and I don't know, again, Sophia, when I was your age, it was the last thing on, it was not even a thing. I didn't even, I had so much on my mind, and now it's something that found me. It has become very important to me. So when I think about my business, I really think about creating your business as a spiritual thing. I really think about business as a way of, creating abundance for yourself, but for others. If we think about how many people we impact when we have a business, from the VAs that we hire, from the people, whatever, right, that we employ or that help us, the contractors. And as we grow, I'm sure you have a large business, Michelle, you see this more clearly, but there are ripple effects. And so, and there's a way, it gives you a vehicle also to infuse that with your values, right? Like, what do you want to pass on to people? How do you want this business to impact the world? Do you want it to be sustainable? Do you want it to be ethical? Do you want it to help people, in a way? And so I don't think that excludes focusing on profit in any way. And so those things for me are so intertwined, and I am very 100% in. And so I'm fascinated by all of that and hoping to be able to grow my business with all of that in mind. Not one thing excludes the other, right? Because we see so much out there, especially public companies. It's all about the stock price, the stock price. You lose sight of the people, you lose sight of the culture, you lose sight of so many things, right?
So I love that. Thank you so much for bringing that home in such a beautiful way, because that ability to create, win-wins and thinking about whether you're solving a problem for, whether it be a seller or a buyer, thinking them as a human, as a person first, and being there, to bring a solution that is meaningful for both parties. And in the process, you being compensated because you're bringing value. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that value is then compensated. So thank you so much for driving that lesson home, which I know that, she hears it, from being at home, but it's good to hear it sometimes in a different way from different people. And sometimes things just click, better. So if anyone wanted to connect with you, Maira, or anyone is interested in, perhaps your Airbnbs, whether it be in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, or in Asheville, North Carolina, how can people get a hold of you?
So we are actually just working on our website right now, but they can find our properties through Hospitable. So Bromelliat Homes, if you just Google Hospitable, Bromelliat Homes, you will find our properties there for direct booking. Or you can find us, on Airbnb, Verbal. We're also on social media. If you search for Bromelliat Homes, we have, 2 accounts with our properties. I can provide you my email. It's a mouthful, so I can do that. And if you can put in the comments, that's probably better when you try to say it.
I would love to have it included in the show notes. Thank you so much, Maira, for making the time to be here with us today and pouring into my Sophia and just giving her some perspective, because age-wise, we're very similar backgrounds, not necessarily from the legal perspective, because that's not what I went to school for. My degree was in finance, but we're both foreigners where our families, highly valued education and work ethic and hard work, and how that has translated for you and the success that you've, experienced so far. And so very, very much thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you both. It was such a pleasure. And Sophia, I hope this was helpful, but if you have any questions or I can help with anything, obviously please feel free to reach out.
Everyone, if you're listening and you would like to share this podcast with an amazing woman in your life, please do so. Give us a 5-star review. We're excited to come into your home, into your headspace every week with an episode, and tune in for the next one. We are excited always to welcome you and have you in the Becoming Wealthy podcast. So thank you so much.